are listening to the Nerd for No Reason podcast. I'm one of your hosts. Hey there, I'm Raven.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Mark. I'm kind of frustrated right now.
Being a dad is a wild thing.
Man, it was crazy. Literally, right before we started the show, my kids decided they want to act up. Been fine all day. And they want to wait till the red light goes on to be like, okay, cool. I'm going to start doing cartwheels through the living room.
Hey, Dad, I know you said you were about to record, but, can I say hi to Miss Raven?
Yeah. Yo, dog, I'm going to let you finish.
Those kids, man. I love that it's like Amy's thing that every week almost, she's like, but can I say hi first? And you're just like, all right, go say whatever you want to. And then she just rambles on until she's like, okay, I gotta go, bye.
Right.
I'm like, all right.
It's very much, I'm going to just get everything out of my system, and now I'm done. You know, it's, and then, okay, bye.
It just builds and builds until it's just completely dead. That's it. Goodness gracious.
So how was your week, Raven?
It's been a week. I was very tired this week. I don't know if it's just because of the heat index and the humidity. But man, every day I came home from work, I'd be like, all right, it's time to go to bed now because I can't do anymore. For the rest of the day, I'm out.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
I bet. How about you?
Same.
How you been feeling?
Man, it's been rough and busy. I don't want to say rough. It's just been busy. I feel the same way about the heat. We're still doing extracurriculars even during the summer. Alice been doing plays and stuff. So, I literally get off work, I run home, take her to practice, and then I have to. I come home, fix dinner, do all this other stuff, and then I have to stay up until 10 o'clock when I really just want to go to bed 9 o'clock, but I have to stay up, to go pick up Alice because she don't get done with her rehearsal until 10 o'clock. So,
oh my goodness.
Right.
10 o'clock. What are you doing with these kids?
I know, right? But that's over with now, and then tomorrow she goes to Bible camp. So, she's constant state of motion for our kids. It's wild. So yeah, it's been crazy, man.
I bet.
I'm just along for the ride.
I felt that. Felt that in my soul. Currently just hanging out with the boys, but I'm also pet sitting for one of our family friends. Oh. Boo might fall off the couch. I just watched him because we have a nice little sectional, but the corner part was built up with all the pillows, and he was like, I want to get over onto the other side. Started sliding off the pillow. My man managed to do it. I'm very proud of him.
Cool.
But I'm currently pet sitting, like I said, for one of our friends. I just have to go over and feed some sweet little kitty cats some dinner, and then they have automatic feeders for Brecky. So I'm getting to do something that I love. Hang out with cats. I want a cat so bad. And Chris just keeps telling me I'm not allowed to have one. But it's just because of our apartment, which is fair, because we're technically only allowed to have 3 animals. One of these days I'll just sneak one in. Who's gonna know? That's the nice thing about cats. They're pretty easy to hide. They don't sit there and scream because the neighbor just went in his doorway like Kavik and Mudslide do. But other than that, chill.
I guess
that's all it is here.
Until they see another cat that they don't like, and then it's just meow.
Exactly. Or we have a massive rat that's living in the bushes right in front of our apartment, because we've got this little wall that has this little opening that I put plants in, but it's got a little hole at the very bottom, so it can go in between the bushes, or it can come onto our patio, and as soon as Kavik sees it on the patio, all hell breaks loose. That's our biggest thing right now is we got to get rid of this stupid rat. Like, we
Uh,
don't want to be mean to the rat, but
no, you need to be mean to the rat.
Chris saw the rat for the first time the other day, and he texted me. He was like, "Holy shit! You didn't tell me how big it was." It's a big, meaty rat that
Really?
lives like right in front of our apartment complex.
That's
It
funny.
doesn't bother me to see it. It kind of cracks me up because I watched it like climb onto one of our bird feeders and just snag him some food, and I was like, "All right, I'll feed whatever's out there. I don't even care anymore." Anyways, you want to talk about something else other than the giant rat in front of my apartment?
Yeah,
Because I've been
sure.
thinking about that thing way too much lately.
All right, yeah. No, we got some. I got some stuff to talk about. Uh, well, I mean, I don't know where you want to start. I mean, I feel like the place to start that is, I think the biggest news to hit the entertainment industry this week is that we got strikes. We got strikes on strikes on strikes.
Do got strikes.
The Writers Guild has been striking for the past 2 months. I think they're 2 months into their strike now.
Yeah.
And which is wild in and of itself. And then the actors were like, "Hold my beer, we're gonna strike too." And so now we have not only the writers but the actors striking as well for the first time since 1960. I think striking at the same time.
Wow.
And I can only imagine. I don't know if you remember in 2008, 2007, 2008 when the Writers Guild striked before, and just you could feel the effects in TV. You know, you could definitely tell which shows didn't have writers on them as they were filming, because a lot of really good shows just fumbled the ball. You know,
Dang.
so yeah, and it just seems like the studios are trying to hold out. So we'll see what happens, man. They're trying to fight. I knew this was. I figured this was going to happen, but this is, since 2008, we've had the rise of Netflix and streaming services and all of this other stuff, and actors who get paid residuals don't get paid the same residuals for streaming services. So, and I think a lot of that, especially for legacy shows that make a ton of money in reruns, that get played all the time on streaming services, they probably don't pay them cats at all for something like The Office or Friends or something that's on a streaming service that is ridiculously popular. They're just probably just like, no, you're not seeing any of that money. So, and yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. I'm looking at that thing that you sent. There's a lot of big names that are out there like, yeah, no, we're not fucking with this shit. Freaking Meryl Streep, Jennifer Lawrence, Bob Odenkirk, Mark Ruffalo, bunch of other people, all
Yeah.
just saying, hey, either pay us or we don't give a fuck anymore. Can you imagine if all these people just decided to become normal people and just stop acting? They were just like, screw this.
Yeah, I know.
What are we doing now?
And the thing that's wild is that someone did like a cost breakdown of how much it would cost for the studios to pay them the money that they want. And I think, and I saw this and I can't source it, but it came out to like, I think $400 million a year distributed amongst all the studios, right? So that's Netflix, Warner Brothers, Amazon, Apple, all that. And then they broke it down in like Disney, it was like, I think it was like 50 or 75 million they would have to pay out per year. Amazon would have to pay out like 20 million. Like, it was broken. No one had to pay more than $100 million a year to meet whatever the writers and or the actors wanted. Mm-hmm. And what's so wild is that there's CEOs who get paid hundreds of millions of dollars a year in bonuses and stock options and all that. I'm sure not all that's cash, but they're getting paid ludicrous amounts of money, and we're talking billion-dollar corporations that, a less than a 10% of their profit would go to this. Not even 10% of their profit would go to this and kill all of this, because every single one of these big studios, I mean, these companies rake in billions of dollars every year,
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry. So it's wild that they're like, no, we're not gonna pay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's the rise and fall of, you know, all that kind of shit. Rich keep getting richer, Mark.
Yeah.
What we gonna do about it?
America. Um,
Uh,
it was wild. There's this post that has since gone viral of one of the actresses of Orange is the New Black showing her residual check that she got, and it's just like 2 pages of just boom, 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 boom. Here's how much money you're getting. Some of them were zero, some of them were like 1 cent. And then they got done, and I want to say it was like $2 or like 27 cents or something, like some ludicrously small
what?
amount of money. And you're just like, what? And then she came on, she did a follow-up video where she was saying that they got paid so little money that the stars of that show still had like other part-time jobs so they could make rent. They were internationally famous, couldn't go grocery shopping because everyone recognized them, but they still had to do part-time jobs doing whatever, bartending, whatever it might be, just so they could make ends meet. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Welcome to America. Hi.
yeah.
So when people are like, "Hey, why'd you used to work 60 hours a week?" and I'd just be like, "So I could afford rent, working a full-time and a part-time job." Even man, that's sad that even when actors are out there just like, "I can't afford my bills and I can't go out of my house without someone being like, "Hi, can I get your autograph? Can I take photos of you of everything you're doing right now? Thank you."
Well, I remember a couple years ago there was like this big news article about a guy who used to work on the Cosby Show, and he had kind of acted on and off, since the Cosby Show went off the air. And most of it was play stuff or whatever. He booked the occasional gig here and there, and he had a part-time job bagging groceries at some grocery store. And someone took a picture of him, posted it on Twitter, and was clowning him like, "Oh man, look at this guy. He used to be on the Cosby Show, and now he's bagging groceries." And a lot of people, like a lot of actors, came to this dude's defense like, "Hey man, like it's not uncommon for us to have like regular people jobs in between booking gigs. Don't shame this man. Like he's not
Yeah.
strung out. He's not doing anything nefarious. He's not in any trouble or anything like that. The man's just making an honest living." And I mean, it got a lot of traction, and I think so much so that even like Tyler Perry was like, "Hey, come on down to Atlanta. We'll audition you. We got a couple roles. Come down here for a couple days. We'll run you through some audition process." I think he's working now, but there's a few things like that. Kind of notoriously, Danielle Fishel from Boy Meets World, she was like, all of her acting stuff really dried up. She was working at a customer service, the customer service department in some retail store in Hollywood. And then she just happened to catch a gig hosting some show. I think it was a version of, it was a talking head show, comedy show, like Talk Soup. I don't know if you remember that. But it was something similar to that. And it was really funny. I wish they'd bring it back. But she got that. And then, she's kind of working behind the camera now. But yeah, no, like a lot of non-A-list actors don't get a lot of money. And it's wild to think that, you know.
Yeah. I actually had a client this week that it's normally like one of the other girls' dogs, but she was on vacation for so long. We're trying to like just cram her dogs all into everyone else's schedule. Uh, and she told me that the dog that I was grooming for her was actually her son's, and she was like, "Yeah, my son was doing acting, and then when like 2020 hit, there was like no work because coronavirus and all that stuff, and then he just gave up acting, and now he's in medical school." And she's like, "How are you going to afford to pay that off?" And he's like, as long as I make it, I guess I'll have the money for it." I'm just like, wow. To go from being like, "Oh, yeah, I still want to make a lot of money, so I'm going to just go ahead and throw myself into even more debt
Right.
for a hot minute." But
It's
gotta do
crazy.
what you gotta do to pay your bills.
I
That's
think
for sure.
I think the craziest thing that's happened with this strike so far is um, during the red carpet of Oppenheimer, they announced, hey, we're going on strike, and before the movie even started showing, the cast of Oppenheimer who was at the red carpet was like, "See ya." They pieced out. They
Oh,
didn't even stick around.
huh.
So, and yeah, it's weird because I guess the general consensus amongst the SAG is basically, if you are already contractually obligated to do a thing, go do
Hmm.
it. That is okay. Go do that thing that you are obligated to go do. If we find out that you're not doing if you're doing stuff and you're getting paid for it that you're not, contractually obligated to do, then you're not going to be in SAG anymore, which
Yeah.
is like a death sentence for an actor.
Yeah.
So,
Goodness.
yeah.
Speaking of Oppenheimer, that's coming out this weekend along with the premiere of Barbie. You excited? Getting pumped?
I can't wait to see Barbie.
Uh, yeah, I actually really agree with that. But I don't know if you saw, but AMC actually announced like just this week that it saw like 20,000 sales of like tickets for both tickets being sold, where people were basically just going to do double features and just like go from one movie to the next, which I think that's pretty cool.
I think that is cool too. This is such a weird like two movies to put against each other.
Yeah.
One is clearly an Oscar contender, and the other one is just a fun time movie. And the Barbie marketing team has done more for Oppenheimer than Oppenheimer's marketing team.
Yeah. Well, because at first, like, the people of Oppenheimer were like, "No, don't release Barbie that weekend, blah, blah, blah." But then, like, because of that, it became basically like a meme. And then people started being like, "Yeah, we're going to go watch both of these movies. They're both strong, independent leader cast, blah, 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 blah," like stuff like that.
Yeah,
And now they're both like, "Oh, yeah, we definitely like support each other in it. We always wanted it to be the same weekend." Yeah, okay.
yeah.
But honestly, I'm so excited for Barbie. Have
The,
you seen the clip of is like, "What is your job?" And then Ryan Reynolds is like, "Beach."
you mean Ryan Gosling?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay,
Oops.
I was like, please don't
Well,
tell me Ryan Reynolds is in this one too. Um,
he's
no,
evil,
yeah,
Ken.
this movie looks dumb fun in the same kind of way. I think I said this before. The same kind of way that like the Lego movie is, and I really hope that it's connected. Um, because I really at this point I just want to be like I told you so. But the
Yeah, forgot about that.
But it does look dumb fun because just the kind of corny humor, I can see it as through the narrative of someone who is playing with Barbies, like a young 4 or 5-year-old who is playing with Barbies,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to see it.
Same.
Well, and
I'd really like to go for like opening weekend, but honestly, I can imagine that Barbie is going to sell out all this weekend.
it
Just because like so many like people are going to be like, let's check it out. Let's see what all this hype was about, you know?
yeah, it does stand to be one of the bigger movies this summer, which is
Mhm.
wild to think about. Um, because Mission Impossible is coming off a hot weekend right now, but I think with Two Titans coming into theater this weekend, man, it's gonna be it's gonna see. I'm curious to see what the box office looks like a week from now, come next Monday, and see where everyone sits.
True.
Um,
Barbie sits at number 1, of course.
we shall
Calling
see.
it.
Do you
Calling it.
do you think Mission Impossible is going to be number 2 and Oppenheimer is going to be 3, or do you think that the Oppenheimer is going like Barbie Oppenheimer are going to be 1 and 2?
I don't know. I guess I could kind of see Mission Impossible being number 2. Like, I really don't know anything about Oppenheimer, to be quite honest. Like, I just know that it's like the opposite of Barbie, where Barbie's like fun and cute, and Oppenheimer's supposed to be like this dark type movie.
I think
Couldn't
Oppenheimer
tell you
does
anything.
that thing where it's like, oh, this is a Christopher Nolan movie.
Oh,
Like I rest on those kind of laurels. Very very much like a Wes Anderson movie,
yeah,
where it's just like, oh man, it's a Wes Anderson movie, and good or bad, like his fans are going to go and see it, and
yeah,
so we'll see
absolutely.
how it pans out. But Mission Impossible is just a blockbuster, summertime blockbuster. It's the epitome of that. So we'll see when we come back on to record next week, man. We'll get a good feel of what's happening in the theater.
Okay, we shall see.
No. All right. Well, speaking of what's happening in the theater, you brought this to my attention because I didn't. I think I heard the rumblings of this going on, but they have uh, uh, Studio Ghibli's. They have apparently released Miyazaki's supposed final film. He's come out of his most recent retirement. It's taken them
10
10
years.
years to make, and they just released How Do You Live in Japan. They didn't promote it. They have not dropped a trailer for it. They were like, here it is. And apparently this is it. And when he says this is it, this is it. How you feel about this, Raven?
I'm very excited, to be honest. I saw like the tiniest little notation of it, and I was like, all right, what's this? And I just like dove straight in to find out any information that I could on it because I was like, a new Ghibli movie, you say? Sounds great. Also, the reason that it's basically going to be Miyazaki's last movie is because that man turned 82 this year. That's basically why they were like, hey, this last one, that's our last one, because they didn't think he was going to continue to make it on. But I saw that they started making this movie in like 2019, something like that. I don't know if you saw that as well. But
I saw an interview from somebody in 2019. They said they were about 15% done. So
maybe they started, maybe it was like 2016 that they started it then.
yeah,
Okay.
I remember doing the research for this podcast. It's all traditionally hand drawn, old school animation style.
Mm.
and it's they're saying that before they could do between, well, in the 80s and 90s they could do between 7 and 10 minutes worth of animation per month. And
Oh.
then as the 2000s started rolling around, that shortened to about 5 minutes of animation per month.
Mm.
And now they've been working on it so long because they're drawing more frames of animation to make it look better. They're only doing about 2 minutes of animation per month, which is why it's taken so long.
Oh my gosh.
And I can just imagine how this thing looks. So,
I hope it's beautiful. I hope it's just like the most beautiful of all the movies that he has come through with. I don't know if you saw, but it's supposed to have like some like fantasy horror type elements.
yeah.
Because it takes place during like World War II, in Tokyo, and it's supposed to be like kind of like a biopic for him. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, for like him growing up and similar to um, Spirited Away and
Okay.
a few other movies where it's basically like just like, hey, I'm growing up. I gotta figure my life out, I guess, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it they just put out the one poster, which is like, what is it, the boy and the heron,
Yep.
and that's all it was.
That's it.
It's
That
just crazy.
it's wild that, for something that is essentially a legend's last movie. I mean, this is like Spielberg saying, "All right, this is my last film. Here it is." Just out of the blue one day, like, "All right, we're ready."
Yeah,
And no trailer, no nothing. And you're like, "Wait, what?"
I really hope that it got a lot of attention, and it's like opening. How long has it been out at this point? Didn't
Let's
it? It
see.
just came out
It just came
recently.
out 14 July, so 2 days ago.
Okay, so I really hope that like for its first week, it just floods theaters where people can see it. I
Yeah.
saw that they were hoping to get it to ye old America. Not super long. Like they're gonna work on it and try and get all the voice actors and whatnot taking care of it. So
Well,
we might get a new movie soon.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, the internet exists for a reason, so we'll see. I'm pretty sure one way or another, America will get it before the end of 2023.
Yeah, probably.
But if this movie is anything like any of his other movies, and we'll get into this in more detail in a minute, there's not a doubt in my mind this movie is going to be gorgeous.
Yeah.
Because if there's one thing about all of his movies is they are beautiful. I think I said the same thing when we did Howl's Moving Castle, where my man is very detailed. Like there's little things that he does in these animated movies that are just master classes.
Yeah.
So I'm sure this is going to be beautiful.
100% agree.
Yeah.
That being said, you want to get into this week's movie?
Yeah, absolutely.
Since I already name dropped it with the 2001 Spirited Away classic.
Wait, what? That was a weird sentence. I'm gonna have to call
Which,
you out on that. That was a weird.
oh, I called it out like
Yeah.
earlier.
Spirited
And
Away
it's the
classic.
yeah, the classic of Spirited Away, the
Indeed.
2001. Do you want me to just break down every word I said in that sentence?
Nope. Nope.
I
It
don't
was
think
just
I
the
could.
order of the words. It was how
That's
you
okay.
worded it. It's all good. I
I
get it.
was paying attention to Kavik sniffing one of my plants, having to determine if I was going to have to push him away or not.
Ah,
Sorry.
it's all good.
It's my bad.
Yeah. Um, this movie, this is surely not your first time seeing this movie, is it?
It was actually my first time seeing
What?
Spirited Away. I
Oh,
know.
snap.
I've been
Okay.
looking
Hold
to
on.
watch it.
Rewind. Raven. First time seeing this movie. Tell me. Let me ask the wonderful question. Did you like it?
I loved it. Of course I liked it. Sir, can you go away?
Hey,
No,
Kavik.
he's got to put in his 2 cents. He watched it too.
Hey, can I
As
talk to
he,
Mr. Mark?
hey, hey, is Uncle Mark on? Can I talk to him? And then he would just sit there and pant. And then, and then
Okay, bye.
he just lets out a woo and then walks away.
Right.
That's what he would do. All right, but yes, I absolutely loved it. I thought the animation was beautiful. Everything in this movie, I feel like, was done so well that even if you're like, I don't know what the heck that I'm looking at right now, like there's just a turn up spirit and he's just hanging out, but I love him. And there's these little soot spirits walking around carrying a bunch of iron, and I love them. Some creepy little dude with all his long arms doing his thing, and I love him. I love every character in this thing. Even if like you're like, I don't know what's going on. Why do they look like this? They're great. They're amazing. They're so beautifully thought out. And that's my take. Thank you.
I will agree with everything you said. This movie is gorgeous. It is so beautiful. It's even better in 4K. It's somehow inexplicably crisp, more crisp than I remember it being when I first watched it 20 years ago, which is a wild thing to say. I can't believe this movie is that old. But it's you're right. Every character is beautifully drawn and thought out and detailed and just distinct in a way that shouldn't be allowed in an animated movie. This goes back to the care of the characters and the attention to detail, where there's just, the little girl Sin, or Chihiro, we'll call her Sin because that's how she's referred to as in most of the movie, where she puts on her shoes and she does a little tap. Just things that didn't need to be there, but they're there to give that character more character.
Personality.
Yes,
Yeah.
personality. Yeah. I will say, and this probably is the main problem that I have with a lot of, in particular, Japanese to American movies. I think I had the same problem with Howl's Moving Castle again, to bring that back up, is I feel like there's a lot lost in translation.
That's fair.
As beautiful as it is, there's certain parts where I'm like, why are we doing this? Why did you do this? What is this story even about? Oh, look, it's pretty. Oh, look, a dragon. Oh, look, a giant river spirit, apparently, that's gross, and, oh, I want to see where this goes.
Yeah.
The this is when I realized it was too beautifully drawn. It was probably in one of the most disgusting parts of the movie. When what is it? No Face, I think they call him. When No Face was throwing up, Sin gave him like the little pellet or whatever that the river spirit gave her, and she stuck it in No Face's mouth, and he started throwing up, and I was like, oh my God, that is way too disgusting than it should be for an animated movie. This movie is gorgeous.
Right? You're like, I should be a little disturbed by this, but instead I'm still not turning away. Yeah. Or even when they're like, "Oh my god, it's the most disgusting spirit ever. Don't hold your hand up in front of your face. That's rude." And then she just like does her little thing. She takes him to the bath. It stinks the whole place up and everyone's like, "Ha, would hate to be her." Until she like realizes like, "Oh, look, it's got a thorn in it." And then everything becomes magical. Because here you go. You freed me, and now I'm gonna leave all this filth behind for you. But here's a cool little trinket. Bling bling. Um, when Chris and I were watching it at the very beginning, when her parents just like wander off and they're like, "Hey, this used to be like some little carnival type place." And they just start eating food.
Yeah.
And Chris is just like, "Yo, what the fuck? Who just walks up to a place and starts chowing down like that?" Like, she was, her father was literally like, "Daddy's got money and cash. We're okay." And I'm
Right.
just like, "But how do you figure out what you're doing here, my good sir? Just to get turned into a pig."
Yeah, and he is no pun intended. My man is going full hog. Like he is just shoving
Right.
food in his mouth. I'm like, "Sir, sir." Like, and I have so many questions. I have so many questions that just don't get explained. Where I'm like, I want to know more about this ghost village. I want to
Right?
know more about this magical land that we have been transported into. And instead, we spend our entire time in the bathhouse dealing with this and just kind of just following these people who don't. And Sin does not ask any questions. I'm like,
Nope.
wait a second. No, you was driving to a new house, got lost, and now you're working at a magical bathhouse with frogs and radishes and you know weird spirits, and you're just like, oh, okay, cool. Like I don't like this, but I guess I'm here.
I guess I gotta get a job from this weird dude with six arms. Whatever.
Or right. I mean, this lady with this big head and a 6 foot tall baby.
Man, that baby. That baby was too big.
Again, the baby
Oof.
creeped me out. Um, Drawn way too good.
I like seeing like
Excuse me.
aspects
Oh,
of like all of his films like kind of going into like a lot of other things where you're like, "Oh, this reminds me of like Hal and how he like took care of Sophie and blah blah blah," or the water parts would just be like, "Wow, this kind of reminds me of watching Ponyo and blah blah blah." Oh, there's dragons. Now I'm thinking of Princess Mononoke. And so I love that his world all just becomes like they're their own separate thing, but they all feel very like that they could be within the same realm.
yeah. They
That's what I love about his stuff.
they are very much in the same universe. Like they could all conceivably be just different time periods in Miyazaki's Japan. So
Yeah. So beautiful.
I really
What
like
I would give to live there.
I really like at the end when everyone's back to normal. It's like the last 60 seconds of the movie where the parents come out to the car and clearly a lot of time has passed and they're just like,
Mm-hmm.
huh, that's weird.
They're like, "What's all this dust on here?
Right.
Is this someone's idea of a prank?"
And again, I want another 5 minutes in the movie where they get to their house that clearly it's been 2 weeks.
Right.
And, you know, like there has to be police looking for them. Like, where have these people disappeared to?
Mm-hmm. Like it's very similar to how in Coraline, when her parents come back and they're just like, "Why am I all wet?" Because they were in a snow globe. And it's just like, whatever. We're gonna go on with our lives.
Right.
Why is all of our food disgusting? I just love that there's just random little pieces of just interesting stuff that just continue to go on. Uh, like even in the beginning, when you're like, okay, I know it's called Spirited Away. I know that there's like some ghost train. If you have no idea what you're watching, you're just making like speculations. So when they first are going up to that little spot, uh, and my man is flooring it through this little wooded area, Chris was like, "Why is he driving so fast?" And I was like, sometimes you tell your kid you got four wheel and daddy's gonna make it up this hill. We're going for it.
Because
And
this is
so,
America.
exactly. Uh, but when he like stops because they see that like big statue, it felt almost like when you're watching Beetlejuice and they essentially just die. And then they just wake up and they're like,
Yes.
"Oh, what's going on?" So I thought that that's how it was going to start. Was that they somehow like entered the spirit realm, but somehow they have to cross over and stuff like that. So it was very interesting to see, like, at the end when they're just like, okay, we're leaving now, bye. But at the same time, the little girl had noticed, like, all those. She's like, what are all these, like, little houses and stuff? And her mom's just like, people think spirits live there. All right, we're gonna start it up. This is the start of the movie. Let's go, kids. But yeah, it was a very nice movie. Um, I really hope that this next movie that we get from this lovely man uh, is just as beautiful as every other thing that he has made. Because if it's anything like the other two, this one and then Howl's Moving Castle that we have watched, I have nothing but the highest of expectation for it.
All right. Let's move on. My favorite part of the week. And I asked the question, Raven, what made you happy this week?
Chris and I spent most of this weekend just like hanging out, having a good time. Because, like I said, I was just exhausted from this week due to the ever so great heat and humidity that goes on with our lovely southern parts of America. Um, but I told him at some point, I was like, I just feel exhausted. And he was like, okay, we're not going to do anything this week. So get ready for that. And it's been the best thing that I've probably done in a hot minute. So yeah, that's what's made me happy this week is doing absolutely nothing. How about you, Mark? What has made you happy this week?
Oh man, I had to make a list of things.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, it's been kind of a busy week, and it all revolves around my kids that are driving me crazy right now. Let's see. Last weekend, earlier this week, um, uh, I was I got an idea from a friend of mine at work, and he said, "Hey, when my kids were younger and they were talking about how bored they were, I gave them those little washable markers and had them color in my tattoos." And I was like, "That's a genius idea." So I did that thing with Amy, and she locked in quick to that. Um, we got those washable markers. I put them on. I was like, "Here, color in my tattoo," and she sat still for like an hour just coloring my tattoo. And then this has prompted her now to draw more. And I've given her like a little notebook and was like, "Here, fill this up. Start drawing. Draw everything all the time. Don't stop." Um, and yesterday we went to a little comic convention here in town. It was actually the same one that I went to 6 months ago, where I got all those interviews we posted here on the show. And as I was perusing around, I was waiting to talk to somebody, and I turn around and I see a guy who was actually my very first interview that I did on my old podcast. And I was like, "Oh, snap. and I was like, JR, man, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, snap, hey, man. And we get to talking, and it was very cool to catch up with him. And Amy's there with her little notebook that she just started drawing in. And she's like, can you have him look at my art book? And I'm like, yeah. So I tell my buddy, I'm like, hey, man, she's starting out. She wants artists to look at her art book and to tell her how she's doing. And they were all great. We did this with JR, who's from Wickedly Twisted Fun Comics, with Dan Fraga, who was on the show earlier a couple months ago, who's worked for like Marvel and DC and Image and all these other, very popular comic books. And both of them were very, very nice to Amy and giving her advice about how to draw and stuff like that. And I told her, I'm like, listen, you just got advice from people who do this for a living. So you should really listen to it, because they both said pretty much the same thing: is draw, practice, 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 practice. And then when you're tired, practice some more. Mm-hmm. And we left there like really pumped up. So that was a really good feeling. Plus, I got to see Ron Simmons, local hometown hero, wrestling superstar, WWE, Farouk, Nation of Domination, helped The Rock get on, FSU football graduate. Yeah, and he Jedi mind tricked me into getting an autograph. Wildest thing. I didn't even realize I was doing it till it was too late. Really cool dude. We got a picture. Yeah, super fun. And I think I mentioned this at the top of the show. Alice was in a play this week, another one, for Wizard of Oz, and she had a short little speaking role this time, but it was a whole bunch of like older kids or older people, I'll say, and she was very strongly encouraged to be a part of this show, so she is, and she did great, man. I'm super proud of her. I'm proud of both my kids, man. They're doing the dang old thing. So
nice.
And that's what's made me happy.
Good. Good for the girls.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're having a good summer. Doing all the things they love. Disney and acting.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's do some housekeeping. Let's wrap this thing up and get on out of here. Raven, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on the social medias?
Hey guys, you can find me on Instagram at That's So Raven Ellis. I'm still on Twitter. I'll still be there until it is just probably no more, because that's what I am. I told you last week I was going to look at Threads. I went to look at it, remembered I didn't remember my password for my Apple stuff, and then I was like, all right, cool, I guess I'm not going to do that. And never looked at it again this week. But you can find me on Twitter at spooky_raven. You can find this lovely little podcast anywhere you probably want to look. At Nerd for No Reason. We got the Instagrams, we got the Twitters. I think we have a Facebook.
We do.
If it's active or not. Stuff happens sometimes.
And we are on the Threads.
We're on the Threads.
We're on
That's
the Threads.
Crazy.
We are there.
And booze hacking. Wait. Oh, it's so hard being old.
Get 'em, boo. You can find me on the internets at Turtles Do It. I am on Twitter, and I am on the Threads, and I am on the Instagrams. So hit me up. And yeah, that's what's up. I really wish I could be like, oh yeah, hey, I got more stuff, because it feels like I burned through it so fast. Like, hey, here's where you can find me, and then I'm done. But I mean,
it's nice when you just have like one like handle that you're like, hey, this is me. This is what it is.
Right.
It's so much easier. I don't blame you.
Well, with that, everybody, go and do something wonderful in the world today.
You guys go, shit, what do I normally say?
Ingest your medias.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You guys go ingest some pretty cool medias, and we'll see you again here next week at the Nerd for No Reason podcast. Goodbye.
Whoop, whoop. Goodbye, everybody. Falling apart at the seams, man.
Jesus
We're
Christ.
fumbling
My
at the
brain
1 yard
just
line.
like, oh my god, it's about to go in the net. And it is not in the net. We lost the game, boys. We fumbled that ball.
They drop it, kick it into the stands, which immediately just gets mishandled until it falls out of the back of the stadium.
They're like, thank God we've been waiting for you to screw up this bad so we can all boo you at the very last second.
Boo this man. Boo.
It's been one of those weeks. My
Yeah.
brain just like felt like jello half the time this week. I really just like, as soon as I would get home, which I still have to go feed the cats now that I think about it, it would be like 7:30, and I'd be like, damn, I'm not gonna cook. Guess I'm gonna find the stupidest snack I can make, take the quickest shower ever, and try and get into bed. And I would just be asleep by like 9:30 every night.
Oh,
This
lucky.
heat index can suck it.
Yeah,
100%.
it's going to be hot this week, too, and I'm just not looking for